So you don't want to do something like say Black Lives Matter. And that is problematic, that I feel, or that I felt for so long, I could not say that. Hey everyone, what's up? It's Malik, and man, have we seen a crazy, I don't even want to call it crazy, because at this point, I'm sure to a lot of you it's not crazy, right? We've seen these videos, we've seen what continues to happen to Black people, Black and brown people, and to people in low-income communities time and time again. The kinds of mistreatment, the kinds of disparities. It's sad. And it's all across this country. Aside from just covering all that's happening on my Instagram story, if you've seen any of that, I've been just sort of covering it from home. I haven't gone to a protest as of yet. I really want to cover one, but doesn't necessarily feel perfectly safe yet. And I don't know that protests never feel perfectly safe. Not having a press badge and the fears due to the current pandemic. I just want to be safe and careful. But I feel like I could also, in addition to that, talk about my experience as a Black student journalist. I'm very blessed to have grown up in a newsroom at Channel 7 Eyewitness News here in New York. When I was growing up in high school and visiting all the time, they had a Black news director. There still is a Black anchor that I just love, and there are multiple Black anchors, which is awesome. Black female anchors, which is so awesome. There was a Black stage manager. You know, years ago, you may not have seen that. And not only years ago you may not have seen that, but in many places across America, you don't see that if you go and look at the local news. The reason why that's so important is because if you can see it, you can kind of believe it, right? Oh, if Sade Badarinwa has this job, if Shirlene Allicott has this job, if Rob Nelson has this job, I can get it too. And I think that, you know, even there in the mornings, there was a Black reporter on. If Dre Clark has this job, I can do it too. Newsrooms still are not as diverse or as integrated as they could be. In order for a newsroom, I think, to be the best for the people they serve, they need to reflect the people they serve. You can't have a whole white team. You need people from all parts of you know, anything that's diverse, that when a moment like the current one we're in, where a Black man gets killed under police custody, they're able to innovate in order to meet the moment. If not, you have people that don't understand that struggle telling that story, which isn't helpful in terms of being beneficial to the people that want to understand why this is happening, and to making sure that protesters and people that are out there fighting feel heard. So there isn't this, the media won't show you this, which we have seen a lot, this anti-media rhetoric. And that comes from when people don't feel heard, when people don't feel seen, like their part of the story isn't being shared. Look at often the on-air personalities, there's always a producer in their ear. And if that producer isn't Black, if that producer isn't a person of color, if that producer isn't LGBTQ+, because the producers are the ones who sometimes give reporters their stories, who assign stories, who let you know what you're doing that day, who run the show. The media is going to have to fix this in order to meet moments like this, where people are. Having a bunch of people who have not just white privilege, but there are so many different privileges that people have. Having a bunch of people who have white privilege and all of those other privileges is not going to make someone who has not a single one of them in a community that's ravaged by gun violence, that has low income, that it has only people of color in it, they're not going to feel understood. You know, I was watching this piece from CNN. It was an interview of a panel and of journalists of color just speaking out about this issue, and one of them from the New York Times Magazine, Nicole Hannah-Jones, said that the American Society of Newspaper Editors is no longer doing their annual diversity survey and report because there aren't enough newsrooms that are actually willing to even participate in the survey, meaning that they probably don't have good diversity numbers if they don't want to share them. That is very alarming. when you're a student like myself, it becomes very scary, right? Because you don't want to do anything to offend anyone. You don't want to, ruin or burn a bridge. So you don't want to do something like say Black Lives Matter. And that is problematic, that I feel, or that I felt for so long. I could not say that. I saw a tweet from a journalist reposted this, so I didn't know who initially shared it, but it was a Black journalist explaining that he and someone else had feared for so long saying the words Black Lives Matter, and they said that they have to ask themselves, who are they afraid of? And I think I know who. Leadership, and not just leadership, white leadership. And the problem is that, again, behind the scenes, if the diversity isn't there, it doesn't matter, because those people that are Black and on air are going to be afraid of saying certain things or doing certain things because they know who they answer to at the top. That's really what's concerning. Now I'm done. Black Lives Matter. That's it. I think for me, and it still hurts to say that, right? It's still scary, but my life matters, and I'm not going to pretend that it doesn't for someone who's high up at a news network. We have to get to a place where it's okay to say our lives matter. And that should be, that's not an opinion, right? Of course, there's a whole group called Black Lives Matter. But you don't have to be a part of a group to say something. It doesn't mean I'm anti-police or all of these different things that group advocates for, but you can totally, and everyone should feel comfortable saying those words, that Black Lives Matter, and that includes journalists. I want to say that if you're not in media, journalism often feels like a fight. Like I have to fight for a story, and I have to fight to convince someone that this matters. And I think when you're Black, when you pull up on the block, not on the story, but just in a newsroom, you're going in there with that as an extra battle. Not just, I'm young, please let me tell a story, but I'm Black, right? As an added element, right? It feels like another thing that you might have to push on. Sometimes I feel like, oh, I'm lucky to have received this opportunity because I'm Black. But then you have this other side that's like, wait, they need diversity. It's just psychologically, and I think you're reminded. That's the thing. That's the thing, and I think that's the white privilege. I've been in meetings where I'm struggling with mental health. I'm begging to be put in front of a camera and to tell stories, and then at the same time I'm thinking, I'm talking with white people and I'm Black, and that feels in my head as the elephant in the room. Even if they are not doing anything, you just are thinking about it, and that, I believe, can hurt your performance, right? I'm not sure. I'm pretty good at just rolling with punches, but even if it's just 1% of you that's focused on something else, that's 1% that could have been fully focused on the work, that could have created 100% being there in that moment, being able to advocate for youth voice and youth stories like I do. That's the privilege, right, that we don't have because of your race, because of your skin color. I'm Black, that's it. It shouldn't feel like a thing. And I think it does, especially when places aren't as diverse as they could be. Sometimes if there's already a Black person on a show or on a media outlet or on a network, I have felt that a reason, right, another strike against me is we already have a Black person. We already have 2 Black people. We don't need another. No one's ever said that direct out to me, but I think that can add to it. And again, it's just these thoughts of why didn't I get this opportunity? Is it because of race? Is it not because of race? What is, all of that is unnecessary. In addition, I don't remember where I saw this, but just someone said, the both sides idea is actually the media trying to not upset white supremacists. I will say that the people that are Karens of Twitter that we see all the time on social media, Karen watches the news. Karen watches all of the shows. Karen, I'm sure, will call up, right? We've seen what Karens can do. I want to speak to your manager. I want to, tell me why you broadcasted that. Who is this person? I think those reviews and whoever is calling helps networks choose who they put on, what kind of black person they put on, whether you're funny. I feel like the entertainment world has had that whole conversation already of putting black people on air who are, funny versus the smart person or the geek. I feel like we've already had that conversation in the entertainment world, but I feel like it could happen in the news world. And I feel like that's a scary thing, that there aren't enough people of color in leadership to help make those decisions. What I'm happy about in this moment is that people are calling the media out. And I think that's important, because if you never get called out, if you think it's perfect, you will never be able to grow or learn. People don't feel heard, and that's exactly what the media is supposed to do, right? Even the whole voice to the voiceless thing, I don't say that. I think we should be amplifying voices, never changing. I feel like if you give someone a voice, you can change it, you can alter it, you can do all of these things. People have been saying the names of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and so many for years, and now you pull up. You don't need to give anybody a voice. They've had their voice. It just hasn't been loud enough. The more people that say something, the more media is going to have to look inside and say, how can we improve? And I think that's so great. How these stories are told, how history is written, matters. There was discussion on CNN a little while ago when this was all starting. This person that was speaking on CNN basically said, we've tried black faces in high places, and where are we? When we look at all of this, we have to be willing to say, are these people actually going to, when they get super high, do good for where they used to be? Their friends that might have been put through the school to prison pipeline, for the people they don't know that may be in low income communities. I think we have to be willing to say that. And that's the thing. I think this person that was sort of speaking on CNN, I forget his name, but he was trying to get at this idea of the black elite, and that even if you put all of these black people on, maybe even behind the scenes, if they become so accommodated to by all of the things that are plaguing the rest of minorities and the rest of, their community, then what good is it? Like, we need more than that. And so, for me, I think that means saying, hey, there hasn't been a shooting in this really bad black community. We should go over there anyway. We should go over there and just see how they are, see what stories they want told, because they'll tell you. And I think that's something that this 24-hour news cycle doesn't necessarily allow for, right? Because again, people have been talking, you just haven't been listening. The thing is, there's becoming this crossover of news, entertainment, boom, which I'm not going to comment on. I was always told from mentors, why that person's a good anchor? They were a good reporter first. And if that is true, which I think I'm better out in the field, so probably is, right? Then you gotta get black people who have journalism experience, who've really been out there in communities, right? It's important that they are propelled, not to say other people shouldn't be propelled. It's just important journalists be more, I think, approachable and reachable. And I think journalists are going to have to be way, way, way more personable going into the future, which is why I'm so glad you're here and we're already starting this connection, because we're going to be able to tell so many stories. You just wait. Now I want to talk about being black and on a story as a student journalist. I have never had a terrible experience out on a story because I'm black. I don't know. When I'm out there on a story for school, for example, I go to Ithaca College, predominantly white town and school. When I pull up on a story, again, that idea of in my head, I'm concerned. Because I don't want to scare anyone in this white town. I don't have this super big news coat that lets you know who I am. I'm not coming up to you with a mic. I'm just coming up to you with maybe my phone. I think my counterparts that are white, I think that's just something you don't have to deal with. And the thing is, journalism is kind of aggressive. We are kind of like, excuse me, can I talk to you? I don't ever tap anyone. I don't like doing that anyway. I would hate if someone tapped me. I saw Rachel Scott, who is an ABC correspondent. She was interviewed by some organization on being a black journalist during this time, and she said that she had to hold up her press badge to a police officer because he mistook her for a protester. I once covered a Blexit rally, which is the black exit from the Democratic Party is essentially what it is. It's started by Candace Owens. I went to Richmond, Virginia to cover this rally. Student journalist, no credentials. It's interesting because at an event for black people, I thought it would be easier to get in, but they also, I think, seem to look at me like, oh, you're probably one of those liberal reporters coming in here, CNN spy. The interaction I had, the wanting to make sure I wasn't going to screw them over with my coverage. I wonder if that happened in part because I was black, right? If I had come in white looking like I could be from Fox News, overall, racism's gotta go. And we've gotta be able, though, to do our jobs as journalists. Journalism, as far as I'm concerned, was not to protect the police. It was to make sure that we were an eye for the people, the fourth estate. I really don't know what my final words are here, but I just wanted to let you know the experience of being a black student journalist. I heard an anchor in Seattle the two anchors, black anchor was saying, to the white anchor, the reason why our friendship has been so great is because you have listened and you've expressed interest in learning more. And he was like, it's because you have just shared your experiences with me. And so I think sharing our experiences is something that is so powerful, because that's all I can do, right, is let you know what I've been through. I hope that that's helpful in making the world better and in changing all of our lives. If you are a non-black person, I think just keep learning, keep educating yourself, keep listening. Black people can't make this change alone. It's up to all of us to say no more, no more racism. Thank you. I love you for listening to this. This has been a hard few weeks, and especially as a black journalist, because I want to watch and I want to cover everything, and taking a self-care day feels like I'm missing something. And I also had my birthday. I had a birthday. So I didn't want to spend my birthday consumed in all of the news and everything, but also I want to know what's going on. I think that's part of why I'm here. I'm sending you all the good vibes. Thank you so much for being here.